Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My name is Evan Carter. I am 33 years old, and 2 weeks had passed since my wife walked out of our home in Charlotte, North Carolina, telling me she needed a break to find herself. I cycled through anger in the first 48 hours, confusion by day 3, and a steady, hollow quiet after day 5. By the end of the second week, what I felt was not rage or grief. It was the absence of tension. I had a routine: work at the office uptown, the gym off Remount Road, dinner with my buddy Calvin most nights, sleep that came without negotiation. There was no drama to manage, no double-guessing my sentences, no quiet assessments of whether I had said the wrong thing, no fragile peace that required my constant maintenance. It was simply life, manageable and still. Saturday afternoon, the faucet in the kitchen started an impatient, uneven drip that had annoyed me since before Naomi left. It was the sort of small domestic problem that used to become a metaphor for everything unsaid between us. I did not overthink it now. I laid out a towel, turned off the water line, and started unscrewing the cartridge. The house smelled faintly of citrus cleaner. I could hear a game murmuring from a television in a neighbor's living room across the street. I was halfway into the repair when a knock sounded at the front door. Urgent, compressed, and relentless. Not a polite tap. The kind of knock that wants to wake the dead, or undo time. I wiped my hands on the towel and walked to the door, knowing before I reached it who would be there. When I opened it, Naomi stood on the stoop with a bouquet of grocery store flowers, their plastic sleeve fogged with condensation. Her mascara had traveled south in 2 flat streaks. Her eyes were puffy and red, like she had not slept in days. Her voice wavered. She said, "Can we talk, please?" I stayed in the doorway, my left hand on the frame, the solid wood between us a line I did not intend to cross. Naomi said, "I made a horrible mistake." Her voice cracked on the word horrible, thinner than I remembered. "You are my soulmate, Evan. I do not know what I was thinking. I need you. Please, can I come in so we can talk about this?" I watched her for a few seconds, calm in a way that would have scared me weeks ago. The flowers shook in her hand. The desperation in her posture looked brittle, already failing under its own weight. This did not resemble 2 weeks of peaceful self-discovery. This looked like a plan collapsing. I asked, "What happened? Did your ex take you back just to sleep with you and then ghost you?" The flowers slipped from her hands like a reflex. They did not land gently. The plastic sleeve burst with a papery sound on the concrete. Her face drained pale, then flushed scarlet, then crumpled. She folded against the door frame, shoulders heaving, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. People across the street pretended not to look. I did not reach for her. I did not comfort her. I let the moment stand, cold and honest as a ledger. She stammered between sobs. "How did you?" I said, "Lucky guess," although it was not luck at all. She wiped her face with the sleeve of her denim jacket, trying to compose herself, and failing in tiny flinches. "It was not like that," she said. "It is complicated. Please, let me explain. Let me come inside and we can talk about this like adults." I said, "We can talk right here. The neighbor should have thought about that before you showed up unannounced." Her gaze flicked to the other houses, mortified, then returned to me with the same pleading look that used to melt the starch out of every argument. Those eyes had ruled entire weeks of my life. "Not anymore. I love you," she whispered. "I never stopped loving you. I got confused. People make mistakes. Marriages survive mistakes. We can get through this." I leaned my shoulder into the frame and crossed my arms. I said, "You did not make a mistake. You made a choice. You chose to leave. You chose to chase a fantasy you have been carrying since high school. Now you are back because it did not work out the way you planned. That is not fair," she said. I laughed, not loudly, enough to make clear that fairness had already been spent. 2 weeks ago, you said you needed space to figure out who you are," I said. "You said I was suffocating you. You said you felt trapped. Now you show up with grocery store flowers and talk about soulmates." Her expression twisted like something inside her had snapped. She knew I was right. She knew exactly what she had done. "Please," she tried again. "Just give me a chance to explain everything. I know I hurt you. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. We have been together for 6 years. That has to mean something." It meant something. I said past tense. I watched the meaning hit her in the face. She finally understood. This was not a negotiation. This was not me performing distance until she apologized correctly. This was the end of something she thought she could reboot. You are not even going to hear me out. Her voice sharpened. After everything we have been through, you will not even listen. I'm listening right now, I said. You have not said anything worth hearing. She stared at me like I had become a stranger. Maybe I had. Maybe the version of me she remembered would have stepped back, would have opened the door, would have rushed to fix what she had broken because he was more afraid of being alone than of being disrespected. That version of me was gone. I need you, she said again, quieter now, the words hollowed out. I said, you needed Corey 2 weeks ago. How'd that work out? She flinched like I had struck her. I kept my voice level. She said, I am staying at my mother's. When you are ready to have an actual conversation, you know where to find me. I said, do not hold your breath. She picked up the flowers with shaking hands, turned, and walked to her car. I watched her drive away. I closed the door, turned the lock, and went back to the faucet. My hands were steady, the steady of a person who has made a decision and is keeping it. The drip quieted. The house was quiet with it. My phone buzzed an hour later. Calvin texted asking if I wanted to grab dinner. I said yes. We went to a burger place we used to hit near our old campus in Greensboro. Noisy, comfortable, adding a layer of grease and chatter to the evening. We sat at the bar, ordered too much food, and built a conversation out of simple things. Work, the game, Calvin's ongoing disasters with online dating. He did not ask about Naomi. He did not need to. He kept the conversation anchored in the present. When I got home, 6 missed calls from Naomi stacked in my notifications. 3 voicemails. I did not press play. I blocked her number and went to bed. I slept 8 hours without waking once, like a man whose house had lost a persistent hum. Sunday morning, I laced up my running shoes and opened the front door. Naomi sat on my front steps with a paper cup of coffee beside her. The cup turned at a careful angle on the riser, its heat long gone. She stood up too fast when she saw me, her hair pulled back with no makeup, face pale and hollow with exhaustion. We need to talk, she said. No, we do not, I said. Yes, we do, she insisted. You deserve to know everything. I nodded toward the street. I already know everything, I said. You reconnected with Corey Morrison from high school about 3 months ago. I saw him commenting on your photos, sweet, flirty comments, and you started responding. Then the messages moved private. Her face went pale in an instant. You went through my phone, she said. You left it on the kitchen counter the morning you walked out, I said. The screen was unlocked. I saw enough. She put a hand on the railing to steady herself. So you knew, she said softly. You knew where I was going. I had a strong idea, I said. Corey, the quarterback, the one who got away. You mentioned him enough over the years whenever you had too much wine and got sentimental. She sank back down onto the step like her bones hurt. Why did you not say anything? Why did you let me leave? I sat on the top step and kept space between us. Because I wanted to see if you would actually do it, I said. I wanted to see if 6 years of marriage meant less to you than a nostalgia fantasy. It was not a fantasy, she said. Then what was it? I asked. She stared at her hands a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was a thin thread. I thought maybe I married the wrong person, she said. I thought if I saw him again, if I spent time with him, I would know for sure. And at first, it felt like I remembered. He was charming and confident, and said all the right things about never should have letting me go, about realizing what he had lost. Let me guess, I said. He is engaged. She nodded. He said it was complicated. He said he was not sure about her anymore. I asked, so you went there thinking what exactly? That you would run away together. She pressed her lips together. I did not know what I thought, she said. I needed to feel something I had not felt in a long time. Did you feel something? I asked. Her eyes lifted to mine, and the tears gathered again. For about 4 days, she said. He took me to nice dinners. We talked for hours. He made me feel like I was 22 again, like anything was possible. Then we slept together. The next morning he got distant. He kept checking his phone, made excuses about work. By evening, he told me his fiancée found out I was staying with him and gave him an ultimatum. He chose her. He blocked me on everything. He would not answer my calls. When I went to his place, she answered the door and told me to leave, or she would call the police. I did not feel triumph. only fatigue. So you came back here, I said. Where else was I supposed to go? She asked, the question raw, as though I enjoyed her vulnerability. Your mother's, I said. A hotel. A friend's. Literally anywhere except the house you left. I came here because this is my home, she said. Because you're my husband. Because I made a mistake, and I need you to forgive me. I turned and looked at her directly. You did not make a mistake, I said. You planned this. You reconnected with him months ago. You emotionally cheated first, then engineered a break so you could physically cheat without technically being married while you did it. That is not a mistake. That is calculated. That is not how it was, she said. Then explain how it was, I said. She tried. She could not. She cried. I waited. Finally, she said, I thought I loved him. I thought maybe I chose wrong years ago, and this was my chance to fix it. I was wrong. He did not love me. He wanted what he could not have. The second he had it, I meant nothing. Do you think that is better? I asked. Do you think admitting you left me for someone who did not even want you makes this forgivable? She shook her head, voice trembling. I think it means I learned my lesson, she said. I think it means I know now what I had and what I threw away. I stood. You learned your lesson, I said. This is not detention. This is not a sentimental story about making a mistake and growing. This is my life that you cracked open because you were bored with steady happiness. She whispered. I was not bored. Then what was so terrible about our marriage that you needed to blow it up to feel alive? I asked. She had no answer. We both knew the truth. Nothing was terrible. We were not fireworks every day, but we were good. You cannot compete with a fantasy designed by memory. I contacted a lawyer, I said. I filed separation paperwork on Thursday. Her head snapped up. You what? You heard me, I said. We are done. I will not be the person you come back to because your plan failed and you are embarrassed. It is not like that, she said. It is exactly like that, I said. And here is the part you still do not understand. I do not want you back. These last 2 weeks have been the most peaceful I have felt in months. No criticism about how I load the dishwasher. No passive-aggressive sighs when I want to watch the game with Calvin. No eye rolls. Just peace. She looked stunned, truly stunned, as if she had never considered the possibility that I might be better off without her. So that is it? She asked. 6 years and you're just done. No, I said. 6 years and you're just done. You ended this the second you packed your bag and drove to Corey. I am just making it official. I went inside and closed the door. I watched through the window as she sat for 20 minutes on the steps, hands in her lap, motionless, then finally rose and left. My attorney's name was Mr. Sterling Grant. I called him Monday morning from my office. He told me to continue with no contact and to document any messages that slipped through. He said quiet perseverance does more work than yelling ever could. I went back to answering emails and drafting a proposal like the wheels of life had kept turning without a squeal. By Tuesday, the texts started. They rolled in so quickly that even blocking new numbers felt like chasing fireflies. They began with apologies, and then bargaining, then anger when the apology did not unlock the door. I did not respond. I took screenshots and sent them to Mr. Grant's secure folder. By Wednesday, Naomi adjusted tactics. Mutual friends began to reach out, starting with her college roommate, Jasmine. She is devastated, Jasmine said on the phone. Can you at least hear her out? I said, I already did. There is nothing left to hear. She said, marriage is about forgiveness. Everyone makes mistakes. I said, Jasmine, she left me for someone else. She planned it for months. That is not a mistake. That is a series of decisions. Silence. Then Jasmine said, I did not know it was like that. She made it sound like you two were having problems, and she needed space. I said, she is good at controlling narratives. Thank you for calling. Within an hour, 3 more friends texted apologies for bothering me after hearing the actual story. Thursday, my brother Brian called. Mom wants to know if you're coming to dinner Sunday, he said. Is Naomi invited? I asked. Mom said absolutely not, he said. Dad already told her she is not welcome until this is settled. Maybe not even then. My family did not do games. Once you crossed the line became a wall. I said, tell them I will be there. Friday, I left work a little after 5 and saw Naomi's car waiting on the far side of the lot. She leaned against the passenger door with her arms folded across her chest, as if her posture alone might look composed. I kept walking toward my truck. "I just want to talk," she called out. I said, "Get a lawyer. Have them contact mine." She pushed off the car. "This is ridiculous," she said. "We are adults. We should be able to have a conversation." I turned. "Fine," I said. "Here is a conversation. You destroyed our marriage, chasing someone who did not want you. Now you are embarrassed and desperate because your plan collapsed. You do not miss me. You miss stability. You miss having someone who took care of you. That person does not exist anymore." "That is not true," she said. "Which part?" I asked. "The part where you spent 2 weeks sleeping with Corey, or the part where you only came back after he dumped you?" 2 coworkers were within earshot. She saw them and flinched. "Can we please talk somewhere private?" she asked. "No," I said. "Anything you have to say, say through your lawyer. Stop showing up places. Stop texting. Stop sending friends to guilt me. We are done." I got in my truck and drove away, and in the rearview mirror she stood small and still, like she had not considered the wind could shift against her. Saturday morning, Mr. Grant called. "She has retained representation," he said. "A local attorney named Clayton Vaughn reached out about settlement terms." "What terms?" I asked. Mr. Grant paused. "She wants the house," he said. I laughed once, a short sound. "The house I bought before we got married," I said. "The house that is in my name only. She wants that." He said, "She claims she contributed to the mortgage and maintenance." I said, "She worked part-time at a boutique. Every dollar she earned went to shopping and nights out." He said, "I figure as much. We will file a formal response. She is also claiming emotional distress." "She left," I said. "I know," he said. "It will not stick. This is positioning to force you to engage. Do not engage. Let me handle it." I deep cleaned the house until dusk. Scrubbed surfaces, empty drawers she had rearranged into her design, changed sheets she had not slept in after leaving, gathered the fragments of a life, and returned them to order. When I finished, the place looked like it could finally inhale. Calvin came over with pizza and drinks. We sat on the back porch under a quiet evening sky, talking about nothing with intention. "You doing okay?" he asked. "Honestly," I said, "yes. Better than I thought I would be." He nodded. "You deserve better than someone who treats you like a backup plan," he said. "The strange part is that I'm not even angry," I said. "Just relieved. Like I've been waiting for this shoe to drop for months, and now that it has, I can stop watching the ceiling." Calvin said, "Probably because you saw it coming." I said, "The Corey thing did not surprise me. Not even a little. She talked about him too much. Compare me to him sometimes. Little things. How he would have done this, or how he was so ambitious." I stared into the yard a moment. "I should have ended it then." "Hindsight," Calvin said. "We let the silence be comfortable." Sunday at my parents' house in University City had all the soft edges I did not know I missed. My mother Patricia made too much food. My father Leonard grilled like he always did when the forecast cooperated. And my brother Brian showed up with his girlfriend, Autumn, who brought a chocolate cake that soothed the room simply by existing. My family did not say Naomi's name once. It felt like they had erased her from the dinner table without comment, replacing anxiety with small talk and cajoling humor. After the dishes were done, my mother pulled me aside in the kitchen. "Are you sure about the divorce?" she asked gently. "Completely," I said. "Because if there is any chance—" "Mom," I said, "she cheated, left me for another man, and came back only because he did not want her. There is no chance." My mother hugged me, firm and warm. "Then I am proud of you for knowing your worth," she said. "Too many people stay in situations that drain them dry. You are stronger than that." I drove home lighter than I had in years. Monday morning, I opened an email from Naomi. It was long and rambling. Apologies, explanations, promises to change piled like furniture against a locked door. I forwarded it to Mr. Grant without reading past the first paragraph. He called an hour later. "She is desperate," he said. "That is good for us. Desperate people make mistakes. Continue with no contact. Let me handle every communication." I said, "That is the plan." Tuesday afternoon, I was at a Shell station off South Boulevard, filling up the truck, when a tan sedan pulled in behind me. Naomi's mother, Mrs. Caldwell, stepped out, her face pinched and weary. "We need to talk about my daughter," she said. The pump clicked off. I replaced the nozzle, wiped my hands on my jeans, and turned to face her. "There is nothing to talk about," I said. She has not eaten in days, Mrs. Caldwell said. She cannot sleep. This is killing her. She should have thought about that before she left, I said. She made a terrible mistake, Mrs. Caldwell said. But she loves you. With all respect, I said, this is between me and Naomi. You raised her. You know what kind of person she is. Whatever happens now, she earned it. Mrs. Caldwell's expression hardened. You are being cruel, she said. I'm being honest, I said. She did not love me. She loved the idea of me. The second something shinier came along, she left. That is not love. That is convenience. I got in my truck and drove off, leaving her glaring at the stripes painted on the concrete. Friday evening, I stopped at the Harris Teeter a few miles from my house to pick up groceries for the weekend. I was selecting apples when Naomi's voice came from behind me. Please, she said, just 5 minutes. That is all I am asking. I turned. She looked worse than at the gas station. Her hair was messy. She wore sweatpants and an old college hoodie. People nearby glanced in that unconscious way people look when a private moment starts to spill. Go home, I said. I cannot keep living like this, she said. I need closure. I need to understand why you will not even try. You want closure? I said. Here it is. You left me for someone who used you and tossed you aside. You came back expecting me to pick up the pieces. I will not. That is your closure. We are done. A woman near the apples pretended to compare price stickers. A young man with a cart paused too long by the oranges. Naomi's face reddened. In front of all these people, she said, you are really going to do this here? You started this here, I said. I am finishing it. Her voice rose. I made one mistake, she said. One. And you were throwing away 6 years like it meant nothing. I laughed once, humorless. You planned this for months, I said. You messaged him behind my back. You checked out emotionally, then physically left to be with him. That is not one mistake. That is a series of choices. She turned, seeing the small audience that had accidentally gathered. Can we please just talk somewhere private? She asked. No, I said. You wanted to make a scene. Here is your scene. You destroyed our marriage, chasing a high school daydream. He did not want you. Then you came running back, assuming I would be grateful you picked me. I am not your backup plan. I am not your second choice. I am done being an option. I never said you were a backup plan, she said. You did not have to say it, I said. Your actions said everything. Her eyes filled. You are enjoying humiliating me, she said. I'm not enjoying anything, I said. I am just refusing to protect you from the consequences of your choices. You want sympathy? Call Corey. See if he answers. She flinched, collected herself badly, and hurried toward the exit. The older woman, near me, gave the smallest nod of approbation. The young man with the cart shook his head and rolled away. I finished shopping and left without regret. Saturday, Calvin called. You were trending, he said. What? I said. Someone filmed that grocery store thing, he said. It is all over social media. The comments are in your favor. I looked. There was a 40-second clip of me in produce, my voice level while Naomi unraveled. The comments were a mix of support and cruelty. I closed the app. I did not want the attention. A small part of me felt vindicated that strangers had witnessed a sliver of context. Sunday, I went to lunch with a few guys from work at a place in South End. Burgers and wings, televisions in every corner, the sound of everybody else's conversations like a blanket. Halfway through, Derek said, I saw that video. That was you, right? I nodded, chagrined. You handled it perfectly, he said. You did not yell. You just said what you needed to say. Travis added. My ex left me for a coworker. Came back 3 weeks later. I took her back like a fool. 2 years later, she did it again with someone else. I should have ended it the first time like you did. We finished lunch, and I drove home, lighter than when I arrived. The word was out. No more ambushes. No more narrative spinning. That evening, Mr. Grant emailed. Her lawyer has backed off the house demand, he wrote. They're now asking for a clean split. No assets, no alimony, just dissolution. I replied, accept. He responded, I will draw up the papers. The following Tuesday, I did something I had not done in 3 years. I grabbed my old fishing gear from the garage and drove to Lake Norman. The water was glassy blue-gray under a pale sun. I sat on the dock for 4 hours, catching nothing and caring less, doing nothing that would impress anyone. Calvin met me around noon with sandwiches and cold drinks. We did not talk much. The silence felt like friendship wearing its most comfortable clothes. When is the last time we did this? Calvin asked. Before the wedding, I said. She said fishing was boring. She told me to find hobbies we could do together. And did you try? He asked. Book club, I said, and I did not read enough to keep up. Yoga classes, and my back hated me for it. Wine tastings that were just excuses for her to drink with her friends while I smiled. Calvin reeled in and grinned. So you gave up everything you liked, he said. Pretty much, I said, realizing that I had not meant to. It had happened by degrees, an erosion you do not notice until the shoreline is gone. You seem happier now, Calvin said, than you did the entire time you were married. He was right. The constant preemptive mental calculations were gone. I was not checking the room to see if she was annoyed. I was not revising my sentences in my head. I was just there, with a line in the water, in my own life. That weekend, I went room by room through the house. I found my guitar from college and tuned it until the strings settled beneath my fingers like familiar rails. I discovered a stack of books I had bought, but never read because she said they clutter the place. I unearthed an old gaming console she hated. I set up the spare bedroom to serve only me, a chair I liked, a bookshelf I filled without negotiation, a rack for the guitar. No one to tell me it did not fit the aesthetic. No aesthetic but mine. Thursday night, I joined a low-stakes basketball league through Derek, just guys who like to run at the West Charlotte Recreation Center and then grab a beer after. I had not played in a decade, and it showed. We laughed at airballs and bad passes. Afterward, at a sports bar not far from the rec, Mason said, "That grocery store video, man, you kept it together. Most guys would have caved to avoid being alone." I said, "Being alone is better than being with someone who does not respect you." Mason lifted his glass. "I will drink to that." Friday morning, I was at my desk when a text came from an unknown number. "This is Jasmine. She is posting things on social media. Thought you should know." I checked. Naomi had posted about growth and learning from mistakes, about how sometimes the hardest lessons come from our biggest failures. The comments were full of hearts and sympathy. I did not respond. I did not engage. People tell themselves the story they need to survive. The people who mattered knew the truth. Sunday, after dinner at my parents' house again, Autumn pulled me aside on the patio where the air smelled like charcoal and cut grass. "I am proud of you," she said. "For what?" I asked. "For not taking her back," she said. "My ex cheated on me twice before I left. I wasted 3 years trying to fix him. You were smarter than I was." I said, "I'm just tired of the games." Autumn said, "That is how you know you are done, when you are more tired than hurt." She was right. I was not devastated anymore. I was done, ready to move forward. That night, I sat on my back porch with a drink and thought about everything that had changed. 3 weeks before, I was married and did not realize how tense I had become. Now I was single and content. The house was quiet without feeling empty. My schedule belonged to me. I ate what I wanted, watched what I wanted, and did what I wanted. Simple victories mattered most because nobody else could take them. My phone buzzed. It was an email from Mr. Grant. "Papers are ready. We just need your signature and hers. Can you come by the office Monday?" I replied, "I will be there." I slept that night like a person shedding a weight he had worn long enough to forget it existed. Monday morning, his office downtown was cool and orderly. He handed me the documents. I signed where the sticky flags told me to sign. He witnessed and scanned and emailed the packet to Vaughn's office. "The court date is set for the 18th, Mr. Grant said. "It is a straightforward dissolution." "Good," I said. I stepped back out into the ordinary morning bustle of Tryon Street and headed to the parking garage. The day passed like any other day at work. Calendars pinged. A client called to ask for a change at the last possible moment. And I solved the problem with the quiet relief of a person who has decided to solve only the problems he owns. That evening, Calvin texted, "Drinks? I cannot make basketball tonight." I answered, "Look at you with a social life." He replied with a laughing emoji, and we met at a place in South End where the bartender remembered our orders. I went home later than usual, showered, and fell asleep in under 5 minutes. No anxiety, no what-ifs, no loneliness that I cannot name. Tomorrow would be the court date. Tomorrow would be official. Tomorrow I would close this chapter completely. I did not rehearse what I would say. There was nothing left to say. The Mecklenburg County Courthouse was colder than it needed to be. I arrived 15 minutes early in a dark suit that fit me better than my wedding tuxedo ever had. Naomi sat on a bench outside the courtroom with her attorney. Her eyes were red. She did not try to make conversation before the door opened. Mr. Grant met me at the entrance and said, "This should be quick. Judge Wilson keeps these efficient." We entered with our attorneys. The judge reviewed the paperwork, asked the standardized questions, and checked the boxes that end lives as a unit. "Do you both agree to the terms?" "Yes." "Are there any contested assets?" "No." "Are there any children involved?" "No." "This dissolution is granted." 10 minutes. 6 years reduced to read aloud confirmations and the scrape of a pen. Outside the courtroom, Naomi tried one last time. "Can we talk, please?" she said. "There is nothing left to say," I said. "I am sorry," she said. "I know I ruined everything. I learned from this. I am different now." I said, "Good for you. Be different with someone else." Her attorney placed a hand on her shoulder and steered her away. I turned to Mr. Grant, shook his hand, and walked to the elevator without looking back. In the truck, I called Calvin. "It is done," I said. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Relieved," I said. "Good," he said. "Meet me at Barton's in an hour. Derek and Mason are coming." I drove to Barton's, a place not far from the stadium where the sound of other people's happiness fits your own like borrowed laughter. They had a drink waiting. Calvin said, "To new beginnings," and we raised our glasses. We talked about everything except Naomi. The game, Mason's terrible dating app experiences, Derek's attempt to grill ribs without any idea what he was doing. We laughed at stories that did not hurt anyone. I felt myself landing in a life that had room for me. Around 9, I headed home. The house was dark and quiet in a way that did not accuse me of anything. I turned on a lamp and sat with a glass of water. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Proud of you. Dinner Sunday." I replied, "I will be there." Another text. It was Jasmine. "She is devastated. This is really happening." I blocked the number. I was done serving as a message relay for Naomi's guilt. I thought about the last 6 years and the smaller choices that had brought us here. The signs I ignored because I wanted us to be as steady as our wedding photos. The compromises that became habits. The jokes that were not jokes about what I liked being childish or messy or beneath her standards. The slow erosion of who I was while I tried to hold together who she wanted me to be. And then I thought about the lessons that survived the wreckage. Lessons I paid for at full price. Never ignore red flags. Never allow someone to make you feel like you're an option in your own life. Never surrender your self-respect to keep a peace that does not include you. Those truths sat with me like bricks I could use to build something better. I finished my drink, turned off the lamp, and went to bed in a house where the quiet finally sounded like rest. The next morning I woke up single and unburdened, and I was wholly, genuinely all right with both. There was nothing abstract about my relief. It lived in the fact that my coffee tasted better when I did not drink it quickly to keep pace with somebody else's timeline. It lived in the fact that my schedule did not require a second permission. It lived in the steady hum of a refrigerator I had almost never noticed before. I showered, dressed, and headed out into a Charlotte morning where the sky was spotless and the day belonged to me. A week later, at the rec center, I missed an easy layup and laugh with everyone else. Mason clapped my shoulder and said, "Your shot is coming back." "So is my life," I said, not as a performance, but as a quiet observation. After the game, Calvin said, "We are thinking of a weekend drive to Asheville next month. You in?" I consider the miles, the trees, the nothing we would talk about. "I am in," I said, and it felt like agreeing to myself. On a different Saturday, I walked into a music shop near Plaza Midwood to replace a broken string. A kid at the counter asked me what I played. "Poorly," I said. He laughed and said, "Then you are honest, and that is a great place to start." I bought strings and a set of picks that felt right between my fingers. Later, at home, I strummed the same 3 chords I had loved at 20 and found that they still knew me. I did not check Naomi's social accounts again. I did not wonder how she was. Closure did not arrive with dramatic music. It arrived as a pattern of unremarkable days that were kind to me. In time, the grocery store became just a place to buy apples again. The steps of my house became just steps. The quiet became a companion rather than a verdict. And when the past knocked in memory, I did not open the door. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.